Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you here to our September meeting of the Tobacco Settlement Agreement Fund Oversight Committee. And we'll begin if Representative McPherson will lead us in a prayer, and then I'll lead us in the pledge.
Switch to this one. I'm sorry. Bear with me if you will. Father, we thank you for this day and all its many wonderful blessings. Father, we thank you for each and every person that's represented here. We know that this program has been a program for 20 years, and it's brought so much good to the state. We appreciate the implementation of this and how it's continued to work and grow. Father, help us to give us discernment in making wise decisions as we overlook in this program. Father, we'll be mindless to not say that we'll be with the state police and people that are looking for the suspect that was doing the shooting on I-75. Be with each one of them, keep everybody safe, and hope for a positive outcome that he gives himself up and that we can go further without loss of life. Father, we would continue to ask that you would be with us as the hurricane comes through and that nobody gets hurt and killed in that situation. Father, we ask that you forgive us for many sins and mistakes. These things we ask in your Son, Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Ask everyone to stand and join us in the pledge, please. First, we'll begin with approval of minutes from, roll call. I apologize. Thank you. Ask the clerk to call the roll.
Senator Rocky Adams, Senator Boswell, Senator Deneen, Senator Harper Angel, Senator Webb, Representative Brown, Representative King,
Present.
Representative McPherson, Representative Pratt,
Here.
Representative Works,
Here.
Co-Chair Mays Bledsoe, and Co-Chair Dossett.
Present. We do have a quorum, so now we will begin with approval of our minutes individually. The approval of our minutes for July and August. Do I have a motion? We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Any opposed? Minutes are accepted. Now we'll begin with the first report, and we'll ask Brandon Reed, the Executive Director of the Kentucky Office of Ag Policy, and Deputy Executive Director Bill McCloskey, if introduce yourselves. And Brandon, I'm happy to see you again today. Brandon visited Hopkinsville yesterday.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chairman, and had lunch at Farrell's there, so always a good experience. And had a new guy with me. He never experienced Farrell's before, so I took him in there and introduced him to Hoptown. So anyway, it was a good day, and good seeing you down there at the Farm Bureau office, and glad we could do what we could do. Just go into this, our September report. I'm Brandon Reed, Executive Director, Kentucky Office of Ag Policy. We have Bill McCloskey here, my Deputy Executive Director, and we're always so happy to come and visit you all and tell you what we've been doing for the last prior month. And we appreciate your all's time and service to the Commonwealth of Kentucky, and we're just going to go ahead and roll right into it. Commissioner Shell, he's on the road today. He's actually going down to Benton, Kentucky, but we had a busy month last month, and as you all know, I think I've seen everyone there, but we had the Kentucky State Fair, the 120th Kentucky State Fair, also representing and just kind of focusing on the 120 counties. But it was a wonderful state fair event. I know I've seen a lot of y'all's faces, and I was working ag land, and I know a lot of y'all visit ag land, but Representative Pratt, he visited me one night, and he was dogging me pretty good at ag land, but no, it was a good. I asked him if he wanted to go through it, and he turned me down, but anyway. But no, it's just a wonderful event. We had a lot of children go through ag land, the new events and everything we have there, the obstacle course, and it was just a really good event for everyone. As you see on the screen there, we picked out a few photos that we kind of highlighted I know Representative King asked about our pumpkin last time. As you see there's the prize-winning watermelon. So we did not win, Representative King. We did not win the pumpkin contest. We didn't come close. So anyway, but no, it was a good event. I think our pumpkin was around 300 pounds. So very good effort. But the winning pumpkin was 1,133 pounds. So it was a big pumpkin. As you see there on the right, one of the things that we was most proud of the State Fair this year was the Sunshine class that we did, and we had over 60 participants, including the daughter of our Deputy Commissioner of Agriculture, Warren Beeler, go through that Sunshine class, and they just had a wonderful time. As you see there, they all got to go through. They had an individual go through with them, pulling the lamb and showing it, and they all got judged accordingly. They all got a Sunshine class champion banner right there, as you can see. But just a wonderful event. I attended it personally. It was a very humbling experience, and just joyful to see their smiles on the face. I guarantee you next year we'll probably have more than 60. I say that's going to grow every year. And as you see there, our commissioner is also a chef. He's up there on the stage there as y'all go by. Before you went to the Ag Land, we had the Kentucky Proud stage, and he was there. I think he's de-seeding a pepper, looks like right there, or something like that. So, but we had wonderful events all over the Kentucky State Fair. And most of you all, I think, attended the ham breakfast. And did anybody buy it? Nope. All right. Did anybody bid? I know that they kind of faked us out this year. Usually they start the bid out at like $100 or something. They start that bid out at $10 million that first time. Everybody's hand kind of went down real fast usually, but $10.5 million record breaking the ham at their Kentucky State Fair. But wonderful event. Thank you all for attending. That did come, and we're just really proud of all our employees, staff, the Department of Agriculture, all the volunteers that we had. I know the Kentucky Office of Ag Policy, everyone volunteered and had a great time. We really appreciate that. I wanted to just take a moment. That picture is already outdated. We only took it, 3 or 4 months ago. But we have a new employee here today. He's a project manager, and I know you all have seen him around the halls before. So, yes, I scalped him from you all. I took him from LRC. Now he's over at KOAP. But Mr. Landon Peach is a new project manager. Landon, just kind of give a wave there. And, so Landon's a local individual that lives here in town, and he came over to interview for the job, and we thought he'd be a really good fit for us. So he's been there for about a week. This is his second, starting his second week this week, and he's doing a wonderful job and just getting to learn the office, getting to know what we do. I invited him over here this morning because one of our main duties is reporting to you all, and I wanted him to see that process. I said, I don't know if they'll let you in the door or not, but we'll try. So they let him on in this morning, and but thank you all for training him so well, and now we got him, so we're going to train him up some more, and who knows what the future bestows on him, but we're glad to have him on board. And for the month of August, the Ag Development Board, $390,000, and Ag Finance, $2 million even there for our finance loans. And as you can see, our highlights of our August, we had staff members attend leadership programs, Kentucky Cattlemen's Association. We had staff attended the WAVE Day down at the Columbus Belmont State Park. That was a wonderful event that I went to, the commissioner went to also, and we had some really good representation down there. Some of our interns finished up their internship while they was down there also. We also visited 13 County Agriculture Development Council meetings during the month, and then our staff members worked and attended numerous events at the state fair that I already covered. And as you can see there, that's my staff playing some jokes on me, but there's the Kentucky Proud tent, new facility there. And I know of several of you all attended. Thank you all so much for the Kentucky General Assembly for investing in our state fairgrounds there, the over $400 million investment. That was a wonderful event that we also had at the Kentucky Proud tent. But that was, as you see, Bill there he's manning the obstacle course. We got the Great Wall.
I don't recognize that old man in that picture, Brandon.
And there we are at the ham breakfast, and I think I just turned around and asked Hunter and Tara there, who does our loans, if I could have a loan to buy the ham, and they said up to $250,000. I said, well, that's not going to cover a couple ounces of that ham, so they turned me down. So. And as you see there's our approval breakdown. I'm going to turn it over to Bill as he goes through the breakdown. Then we have our 3 picks at the end. Thank you all.
Okay, as you can see under the Ag Development Board approvals, the CAPE program, or County Agriculture Investment Program, Deceased Farm Animal Program, Shared Use Equipment, and then we had the 3 projects we're going to talk about later. Regarding Kentucky Agriculture Finance Corporation, you can see the board approved 8 beginning farmer loan programs for $1.5 million. So the beginning farmer loan program continues to be a priority of both boards, the Ag Finance Board and the Ag Development Board. Of the 900 loans that we have, over $1 million in outstanding loans. Of the 900 loans, over 600 of those are beginning farmer loans. And the definition of a beginning farmer for the Kentucky Agriculture Finance Corporation is individuals that haven't owned a farm longer than 10 years. So, Representative McPherson, you can be involved in the family farm over 10 years, and you could still be eligible under the Ag Finance Beginning Farmer Loan Program to purchase a farm. The Ag Finance Board, according to the guidelines, they like to see the applicant significantly engaged in ag production on the farm. And then we have 2 applications that were approved, what we call, the acronym is the DEAL, Diversification Through Entrepreneurship and Agribusiness Program. It totaled 2 loans, $472,000. So this program is designed to, by the title, to help with entrepreneurs, agribusiness entrepreneurs that would be providing a service maybe to the agriculture industry or community, or have a product that agriculture related to sell to consumers. So these 2 projects, one of them involved a young man buying into the timber, a family farm that produced timber for his family farm had been in the family for over 40 years. Quite an impressive application and business plan and supporting documents they provided as part of the application. And then the second application was a purchase of a retail nursery landscaping business in Marshall County. We don't see very many applications coming out of Marshall County. So those are the 2 projects that were funded under the DEAL program. And then it wasn't very difficult to pick out the 3 projects, Brandon, since we only had 3 approved. So had a light month. So if you look on the first one's on page 9. So that was the Hancock County Cattlemen's Association of $5,000 of their county funds, and this is to support their youth program, and they've offered this program for several years. And you noticed in the application narrative, they do require there be a farm business plan and a marketing plan as part of the application. And then on page 10, we have the Taylor County Fair Association. So they were approved at county funds, Taylor County Ag Development Funds, $34,029. You see in the narrative, the total project cost was at $68,058, so half the cost of the project to install permanent bleachers to provide additional seating for their agriculture-related events there in Taylor County, and then Sugarloaf Mountain Meats in Rowan County, Moorhead. So this was a project approved for $14,705 to make some upgrades. You can see in the narrative, poultry scalder, a plucker, and catch table. So these are all going to be improvements to a business that's been operating since 2001. They were initially approved by the Ag Development Board for $232,000. They were successful in getting matching dollars from USDA. So about a $500,000 project supported with Ag Development Funds and USDA. So now they can provide, and they've been recently approved by USDA to be able to do provide services where poultry producers, and of course if this is in Eastern Kentucky, it's going to be small scale, Representative King, and they're able to now have a facility to process their chickens and sell to consumers, whether it's going through a farmer's market or whether they've developed a direct-to-consumer marketing program. And this type of service, prior to them making this investment by these 2 individuals interested. One of them works for Fish and Wildlife, and the other one is a nurse practitioner. So this is a project they kind of started out on a small scale about 7 years ago, and there was interest in they've been approached to expand the processing, and that's how they came to make an application to the Ag Development Board. So they're going to be able to provide these services again in that region. But I was going to mention earlier, the only way that poultry producers in that area were able to use a processing
unit or have access to a processing unit. Kentucky State University has a mobile processing unit that has docking stations around the state. So they would have to, logistics of being able to schedule that meat processing unit being that part of the state was a challenge. And now they've got a location they can utilize. That's all the projects we have. Be glad to entertain any questions.
Thank you all so much. I just want to remind everyone that tomorrow we have our Ag Finance meeting there. It'll be at the Franklin County Extension Office. You're all more than welcome. We have lunch afterwards. I think we have about $3 million on the docket.
Yeah, 18 loans for.
And then next Friday we'll have our Ag Development Board meeting there at the Franklin County Extension Office. So you're all more than welcome to attend.
Thank you. Representative McPherson?
Yes, I just wanted to make a comment as what the deputy said there a while ago. I think it's so important. I'm a real estate appraiser in my other life, and generationally, for one, say you've got a set of brothers and sisters, and you've got a big farm here, and somebody's been farming for, like you say, 1 to 10 years. They know what they're getting into. Let's say that either they want to split some of it up, or maybe a neighbor wants to sell a piece of property. The good thing about this program and allowing them, when you're going to buy siblings out, you need equity. Mm-hmm. And if you've gone and bought your own property and paid for your own property, and maybe you've had this, and so this, maybe you're 50 years old now, but you have an adjoining farm to use to lever, then this is how you can take generational farms down the process instead of seeing them broken up and busted up and become subdivisions. So I so appreciate this program, and I think it hits to the heart of what we've got to do if we want generational farming. So I appreciate that so much.
Absolutely. And yesterday I attended a meeting. I know y'all attend a lot of the Kentucky Farm Bureau has an initiative right now, but we're losing around 275 acres of farmland a day in Kentucky. So this is one of those lines in the sand where we're trying to divert that, and we are. But that's kind of the trend that we're facing right now.
Co-Chair Bledsoe.
Thank you, Chair. I have a confession to make. I know you're all excited. Don't wonder what it is. This was my first ham breakfast and actual state fair tour, which was a little embarrassing. I'm not gonna lie. I've been to events at the state fair, but I had never gone through the exhibit hall, never gone to meetings, never participated quite that way, and I absolutely kept my hands down. But I was so excited about the whole ham runoff that my friends were like, "Keep it! You're getting too excited."
Yeah, don't raise your hands too high.
Right. I wanted to so badly. I don't have $10 million, but if I did, I probably wouldn't buy a ham either. But anyway, I'm diverging from the point. The whole point was I was so impressed with the work of the Ag Department, and so many people who participated in that over those couple of weeks was really impressive. And someone had joked it was the most educational, event in our state. No question, having seen it, that it was. I learned a whole lot. I wish we'd get more of our high schoolers over there, honestly, to see it and participate, walk through, learn. It was just really phenomenal. And I wish it wasn't my first time, but it was. And it met all my expectations and far more. And I can't wait to do it again next year. And I just want so much. I appreciate it.
Are there any other questions? Brandon, once again, I want to thank you for being there in Christian County yesterday. Brandon, we were looking there at the funds, and Brandon actually had brought some funding from the Department of Agriculture that we had placed in here from when we did House Bill 1, and goes to the Christian County, our fairgrounds there in Christian County, the West Kentucky State Fairgrounds, and the importance of these when we look in these counties, and we know the importance of agriculture, but also with these fairgrounds, as important as you want to bring up with saying agriculture, the impact that it has on all the families there within those areas, and it impacts so much more than just on the farm. So I want to thank you for being able to be there, and I know I was sharing with earlier, they have an event coming next week, a demolition derby next Saturday, tractor pulls that Friday. So there's always so much that we're doing and trying to help and give back to our local communities and the citizens that live there. But thank you so much, Brandon, for being there.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to thank you all. Right after us, we got Brent Lackey coming up with KCARD, and I just want to. They're going to give a wonderful presentation, but these individuals, KCARD is tremendous partnership and collaboration with us, and you're all definitely in for a treat. What they provide for the Commonwealth of Kentucky, we couldn't do what we do with it without KCARD.
They just provide valuable technical assistance out there, and a lot of application we receive in our office have an undeveloped business plan. We send them to KCARD to help with that. So I'm sure Brent will share with more information about how they do that.
So thank you all so much for bringing them in. It's going to be a true asset to you all as well. Thank you.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am very honored with our next guest who's going to be presenting. Always proud to have someone here from my hometown, our home community. Whenever I think of Christian County, Brent, we think of where we were born and raised, Pembroke. And it's a wonderful little community, and our families have known each other. And I'm so happy I had the chance to see you here. I guess it's been a couple of months ago that we saw each other at Murray State for the Ag is Economic Development meeting, and the importance of what KCARD does. And I'm happy to have you here and have you introduce yourself and go ahead and start your presentation.
Okay. Now, does that work? All right. Thank you, Representative Dossett. It is great to be here. Great honor to be here. Always great to be with a fellow person from Pembroke. As my dad always says, it's God's garden spot, and he would choose to live nowhere else in that fine community of Pembroke. So it's that community is very rooted in me, even though I don't live there anymore. That the values I learned there carry forward in my job here. Again, my name is Brent Lackey, Executive Director for KCARD. I've got with me Spencer Gwynn, who's the Senior Business Development Specialist at KCARD as well. For those who don't know, KCARD is an independent nonprofit organization that was designed to provide business advisory services to ag-based businesses and farmers across the state of Kentucky. KCARD was started in 2001 after the Master Settlement Agreement, after House Bill 611, and the recognition we're going to be encouraging farmers to diversify away from tobacco and to take on new interests and do value-added efforts, direct market their products, and trying new production practices. There was a recognition by leaders from KDA, from the governor's office, from Farm Bureau, from UK, that hey, we need a center that's put together that can really provide that TA to those producers, and that's where KCARD came around. We have 13 members on our board. We've got representatives from KDA, CoBank, Kentucky Cattlemen's Association, Kentucky Farm Bureau, Kentucky Council Co-ops, Kentucky Association of Co-ops, in the governor's office, and University of Kentucky College of Ag. We also have 5 ag business representatives on that board to kind of ground us, to have a mixture, a good network there. We currently have Joanna Hinton from Hinton's Orchard out of Hodgenville on our board, who serves as our president now. Max Stone from Elmwood Stock Farm. We have, as well as Eston Glover, who's the general manager of Hopkinsville Elevator. We have Michelle Howe from Needmore Acres. And we have Kenny Mattingly from Kenny's Farmhouse Cheese. Next slide. Just a little bit of how we work. We've got 14. We've grown to a staff of, when I first started KCARD 18 years ago, we had 4.5 staff members. We now have 14 staff members. We work remotely across the state. We have a main office in Elizabethtown at the Nolan RACC building. That's where we maintain our files and records, and we hold meetings there. But the rest of us kind of work remotely. Most of us work remotely across the state. It gives us flexibility in how we work with those producers. We try to work with, when we meet with producers, we want to meet on their site, at their business, on their farm, so we can see the environment they're working in, also so they feel comfortable. We don't want them to have to feel like they need to put a coat and tie on or come to an office in an environment they're not used to, so they're comfortable and can trust us. That's one of the things that we try to do. we're able to provide a majority of our services at no cost to these producers or these businesses because of the funds that we've received from the Kentucky Ag Development Fund and many grants from USDA as well. We're so thankful for the partnership that we've had with Ag Development over the years. We've been receiving funds since 2001. We feel like we've been good stewards of those funds, but it has really truly given us those are our core funds that allow us to do what we do is from the Ag Development Fund. One of the things that the role that we try to provide is be that trusted third-party advisor. I think at our core, what we're best at is doing that one-on-one business development with somebody, sitting at that kitchen table, understanding what that producer, where they want to go, and how can we help them get there. That's what we really enjoy doing at KCARD. It's where we want to be. One of the things that was taught to me by the first executive director of KCARD, Larry Snell, was it's not our job though to make decisions for people. It's our job to help them make informed decisions. Sometimes we can leave the table thinking, shaking our heads at the decision they make, but we're going to stand right behind them, and help them guide those ways. And sometimes we shake their head, and guess what? It still turns out it was actually the right decision. But so it's best for them. Making those informed decisions is where we want to be. A little bit about what we do. One of the services that we offer that we're probably well known for is assisting with doing business plans. And we try to help guide those people through that process, and it's a planning process we go through. It would be a lot easier for us if somebody came to me and said, hey, I want a business plan for a meat processing plant. I've done enough of them. I could go to my office and one day turn one around. But they haven't gone through the planning process. They haven't answered all these key questions. So we try to make sure they understand all the key things that they need to do in mapping out that initiative. So that's what we do with these business plans. We also do a lot of work with marketing. We were able to bring Katie Bowman on our staff as top-notch marketing expert. She's been teaching the rest of the staff on those things, but we review marketing plans, update them, working with people. Do they need a social media plan? If so, don't just start a Facebook or an Instagram. Understand how you should use it and how you should use it properly. We do feasibility studies, and those are very comprehensive. That is the one service that we generally charge a fee for because of how much time and effort we do in those. One of the things that we like to say is we don't pre-bake the results. If you want a feasibility study that's going to show that it's feasible so you can get a loan, we're not the people you want to talk to. If you want a feasibility study that identify is this project feasible and what are the key issues that make it work, then that's what we're going to do in that feasibility study. We feel like we do a good work. Another thing that we spend a lot of time is in funding and grant facilitation. We're not going to write that loan application or that grant application for somebody, but we're going to help them through that process, help them understand what's needed for that application. One of the big barriers for federal applications you have to be registered with something on sam.gov, and a lot of times you have to submit your grant through what's called grants.gov. Both of those things I have trouble handling. I get confused, and I have trouble managing that, and I'm a professional who works on a computer on every day. So imagine somebody who's not is technologically savvy. So going through that barrier and walking people through that is a huge service that we have. Also getting down to the financials. What do the numbers say? Helping people put together simple, do they just, some beginning farmers need a simple cash flow statement. Some need a complex set of financials, but we try to meet them where they're at and develop those financials where they're at. Spencer Gwynn here, there's nobody in the state better at helping a beginning farmer develop financials that meet their need. I can tell you that right now, there's nobody better in the state than Spencer. We're so glad to have him on our staff. Also, one of the services that we do is we are recognized as the Cooperative Development Center in the state of Kentucky by USDA. In that cooperative development work, we work with groups to try to provide education and understand what a co-op actually is, not what they think it is. Lots of times, once we go through that, they realize, oh, that's not what I thought it was. So they're move away. But we also do help if they want to go forward. We work with the steering committee through that organizational process. Existing co-ops we work with on board training. We also do. We were recently down with a co-op the other day, helping them set up their capital accounts so they can start paying patronage refunds for the first time because they're now reached the point where they've got enough cash and profitability to start doing that. And finally, I think one of the best services that we do is once we become that trusted person, just having that consultations that they know, hey, Carl Cheney knows from Cheney's Dairy Barn, he can call me and talk, and he normally doesn't say hello. He just starts out with the problem. I say hello, and he's gone with it. And so, or he can say, hey, when are you going to? Or it used to be Curtis Harris, who used to be a Foothills Cody. He said, when are you going to be in Monticello? I want you to swing by the office, and you go back in the back, and we can just hammer, talk through issues. And having that person that you can walk through, because lots of times when you're managing a business, I know that when I managed a business, you feel like there's nobody there that you can talk to. You're by yourself. You really can't vent about these problems with your employees because you don't want them concerned. You might not have nobody else in the community that you can talk to. Having that person that you can really talk through those issues. When we do business development work, some of those a few things that we try to make sure we work on hard. We want to make sure they understand their goals and make sure they're measurable. We want to make sure that they've got a specific target they're going for, not a shotgun approach. When we're talking about their marketing plan, we want to make sure they understand who their customer is. If they're direct marketing meat, who is your customer? Who's most likely to buy your meat? If you're a grain producer, who is your customer and what is that requirement? What is that grain elevator? What does that distillery require of your grain so you know you meet those specs? Also, once you know who your customer is, that better defines what your sales strategy is. If we've identified your target customer as somebody 20 to 25 years old, you probably don't need a Facebook page. You probably need an Instagram or Snapchat account, which then you'll need somebody like Katie on my staff to help you figure that out. If it's an older generation, then you figure out what's the best way to do those promotions. Also, it's also important to think about how are you going to manage this operation. If you're starting up a startup, so many times we talk to farmers and say, well, when you ask the question, well, who's going to do this? Well, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Well, you can't do it all. Or, and that's a common problem, if the farmer's a male and they'll say, well, my wife can handle the books. Well, has your wife ever done the books before? No. Well, how is she going to do the records if she's never done the books before? Does she like doing those? But really thinking about what those duties are and how you're going to fill those. And finally, we also want to make sure that you've got performance measures. It's really important that you look at yourself as a business and a farm on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly basis, a yearly basis. What are you looking at to measure your success? Know it's important. Don't just look at your bank account. Don't just look at your checkbook. Well, what are these things that really tell you if you're doing well or not? Rich Lang, a former employee of mine, a colleague of mine at KCARD, used to say, you cannot manage what you do not measure. And I think those words always ring true. When you look at KCARD's clients, in 2023, we had 516 farms and businesses that were assisted across the state in 102 counties. That meant that they received at least an hour's worth of assistance, sometimes more than that. From 2021 through 2023, we had clients in 118 out of 120 counties. One of those counties that was missing was Clinton County. We've helped them this year, so hopefully we're going to get to 120 in this decade pretty soon. And if it's ag, we've touched it. Whether it's meat processing, value-added dairy, farmers markets, I often say that there's one day on the job that I met with the former council of Burley Tobacco in the morning, and that afternoon I met with a lady wanting to start a lavender farm. That's pretty wide diversity and pretty wide range, but our services ring true for both of those. When you look at some put together a list of some examples of our clients. I won't run through all of them, but AW Meats is a beginning meat processor plant in Greenup County. It's been open for 2 or 3 years. We helped them with their business plan. We helped them get funding through the Ag Development Board and Ag Finance. Now they've been open for a couple of years. We've followed back up this year with at least 2 site visits to see, hey, what are your struggles? What are you working on? How can we help you? And have put a place to improve those things. We've been a long-term. Lexington Farmers Market's been a client for us for a long time, doing board training, organizational development, doing some strategic planning with that group. As I mentioned, Cheney's Dairy Barn, I've worked with them for 17 years now, and I think we've done 3 or 4 business plans, we've done 2 or 3 business evaluations, and the business continues to grow. Oben Chain Farms is a new client that we started working with in 2023, who's a beginning producer who's direct marketing sweet corn to school systems across the state. We were able to help them through a business plan, help them understand some barriers that they needed to put in, and help do some funding applications. Bear Fruit and Grow is a very small scale producer, an urban producer in Louisville who basically has 1 acre of land where she's trying to do some high tunnels and other things like that. We're seeing a number of urban producers of small acreages coming to our office wanting to get into production. And the final one I'll mention here, and I could talk about all of these for days, and there's a much longer list, but Kentucky Organic Farm and Feed in Guthrie and Todd County started out as a very small co-op that was probably had in 2011 probably had less than $500,000 in sales. Now, Senator Representative Dawson, if you drive by South Todd, it is a massive feed mill. They're probably looking at having $20 million in sales this year, servicing the organic dairy and livestock producers in the state. They're shipping bagged feed all over the Southeast, and it's truly an example of a success story and how hard those guys have continued to work forward. One thing that I've always been proud of KCARD is when there was need, we stepped up our services to meet that need. One thing that for sure stands out is back in the 15 years ago, and it's not on this list, is Kentucky was not competitive for federal grants. We went to the Ag Development Board with a plan of how we could have our producers in the ag world be more competitive, and we launched the agribusiness grant facilitation program. And now, as a result, we're helping partners and businesses and farmers bring in $2 to $3 million a year of federal funding, where Kentucky now is getting multiple value-added producer grants, often 5 to 10, where in 2009 we had 0 eligible in the state, much less any be recognized. So that's one area that we stepped up. One thing that we're currently doing right now is, I think many of you are aware of the loss of a lot of dark fire tobacco contracts in Western Kentucky, guys being cut between 20 and 100% cut of their contracts this year. We're planning, so those guys are looking to potentially grow produce, direct market proteins, looking for different ways to replace that revenue. So we're hosting a workshop in Murray on October 22nd to help those called Planning Your Farm Diversification. So what are the key things that they need to be thinking about as they're going into new ventures? How is insurance different for produce versus tobacco? How do you market things? When you're marketing with a wholesaler, what are the key things that you need to be thinking about? And we're going to put in that workshop. Disaster assistance. I'm sure most of you remember the horrific tornadoes that hit this state in December of 2021. As a result of that, a lot of funds were made available, were donated to KDA and Farm Bureau to get to farmers in the state. KCARD helped those two organizations distribute over $1.3 million through local retail stores, and therefore the producers got the funds, but also it went through a local retail, so this was local economic development. And we kind of helped manage that program. Spencer was very active in that. We've been very active in meat processing, where we helped several expand when COVID hit and people were under capacity. And now we're currently going back and helping these guys expand their, work through any challenges that they have now that they've launched. Our Ag Vets program, we launched a few years ago with a grant that we just recently closed out our grant, but we provided assistance to over 350 veterans and active duty people, either business planning to veteran producers or running an internship program for active duty soldiers who were looking for an ag career after they got out of the service. Our grant is up. The internship program is going to be moved over to KDA managing going forward, but we've launched the service as a true need. Finally, we're seeing a lot of first generation farmers come from non-traditional backgrounds. And so they don't know where you're supposed to get educated. They don't know to call the extension office. They don't know to call UK. Where they go is they go to YouTube. They go to instant social media. So we're currently creating a beginning farmer video series that have conversations with former beginning farmers on how they got started, with loan officers about when you come to get a loan, this is what you need to have. With lawyers, here's the things that you need to think about. Do you need to be legally organized or not? Here are the things to think about. And those conversational style videos are currently being produced and will be launched later this year. And also around that video series, last year there was a new grant program where we had over 15 to 20 meat processors applied for it. It required grants.gov submission, and that is a hard process for somebody who's not used to that type of grant application process. So we created a video walking people through submitting a grant through grants.gov. Now, if you go to YouTube and search how to apply through grants.gov, it's the first video that pops up, and it's had over 39,000 views. So we've always been very thankful to receive the funding from Ag Development Board. At one time, it represented probably over 60% of our funding. We've worked very hard to diversify our funding. Now in 2023, the Ag Development Funds accounted for less than 35% of our funds. We're the primary awardee currently on 3 large federal grants. We've also a sub-awardee on 12 federal grants with organizational partners that we've helped them secure that funding. Also in 2023, we had over $121,000 in contracted fees for services where we did feasibility studies or did evaluations for other partners. Finally, as I mentioned, it's important that you have performance measures, and we have performance measures ourselves. As I mentioned earlier, we helped 516 farms in 2023. But we also feel like, based on our measures from the different events that we went to, that over 3,500 producers were impacted by KCARD services in 2023. Our database that was at probably a couple hundred clients in 2010 is now over 3,000 inquiries and clients that have come through our system in the time period KCARD's been around. We conservatively estimate that we helped create 114 jobs in 2023, 790 jobs saved. We also helped clients and partners secure $2.56 million that were announced in 2023. To date, over $2 million have already been announced that we've helped with in 2024. We expect that number to be hopefully be well over $3 million for this year if the year continues as we expect. Finally, we're very proud of this. Our client success rate is 90%. And what that means is 90% of the farms or businesses that we worked with that either launched after we started helping them or that were already in operation when we started helping them are still in business. That means we're helping develop sustainable business across the state. However, we never want this number to be 100%, because if it's 100%, that means we're not helping the clients that need the most help. Because sometimes you have cases that just aren't going to be there, but we want to be willing to roll up our sleeves and try to help them. And we conservatively estimate our economic impact at $14.5 million, and that has no multipliers added into that number. That's purely on estimate on what the value of the jobs is and things of those nature. And finally, I think one of our things that I think that we view a measure of success are some of those things that you can't measure but are anecdotal. Often I've been called the dream crusher by some people because, we come through. It was always tough. There for a couple of years, it seemed like I followed Warren Beaver for various presentations, and he'd get his group all fired up and great, go chase your dreams. And he'd look at them, now listen to this guy, he's the dream crusher. He'll make sure. And I always feel like I'll take that title, but what we want to make sure is that your dreams don't become your nightmares. And that we can help your dreams. How can you make these dreams come true, or how do we need to modify to make those dreams come true? And some of our success stories and things that we provided the right information to people that they realized they didn't need to go forward. There's countless farms across this state that I feel like I can say are still around because they didn't go. We helped them realize this expansion or this new endeavor wasn't going to work. Plus, numerous marriages I think would have led to divorce based on you could see that the wife and husband were not on the same page, and you kept thinking, well, I hope this doesn't go forward because this could be problems. So that's the basics of KCARD. My motto is this: we're always going to continue to work hard, work smart, and work together to serve all of Kentucky Ag. It's all Kentucky Ag. We're all under the same tent. It's a pretty small tent. We want to help do our part. Thank you for the opportunity to be here again. I'll welcome any questions.
Brent, thank you very, very much for the presentation. I know conversations, Senator Webb, I know we've had this type of conversation before in the past. Sometimes the information that we learn here and are able to take back home is more important than some of the votes we make. And this is the type of information that we all can take back and share with our constituents of what is available to them as they're looking at either expanding or starting a new business. So I want to thank you so much. I apologize, I have not asked you to come and present before this.
Appreciate the opportunity today, Myron.
You will be back, I promise you. And you're going to have quite a few questions right here. First, I'd like to start Representative McPherson.
First thing I want to say is just wow, thank you for what you're doing. It's so so meaningful. You touch so much. You need more acres in my district there. I grew up with the Cheneys. My father left Western in 1963 and bought his first dairy cattle from Jim Cheney and started their dairy in Monroe County, and then I went down there and worked with them when I was in school. So we took place and always did record keeping with Rush Metcalf, with all of our, so it was just something that was ingrained in us that you do good business and you keep good records, and then it'll show you what you need to do. Most people want to do what they like to do, not always what they need to do. But I was going to ask you one thing. Most of the expansion of businesses, and like you say, any startup business, you have a passionate group, the person wanting the business and maybe the family and maybe a few others. But when they go to expand and scale out, I didn't hear you talk about labor much. Do you all help with A2A or anything like that? I know if you're going to change from dark tobacco to produce, you're going to have somebody in the field every day with a reefer truck and going through those fields and picking produce, because in Allen County, I know the Pettigos and A2A, and Need More and all those do that, and it's a different labor market.
Correct. We try to help them identify what their labor needs are and what potential sources are. We've never done, I guess, the paperwork for H2A. However, we know that there's different organizations in the state that we've worked with that we've become. The Kentucky Workforce Management Association, we know, does a good job walking through people that have never had H2A workers. So oftentimes we try to refer them. What we try to do is we don't pretend to know everything. So we try to have partners, like I did not mention, that or organizations that we've worked with that we feel good about either working together or referring them to for situations like that.
So I think that's just a huge animal, because people don't understand how to house those people and how to properly pay them. And I've heard more issues with labor issues trying to expand businesses is about any other thing that you can go about, and it's just a big it's a big problem we have every day.
Workforce development is a major issue with many of our clients. It's an issue that the meat processors are currently working through, and we try to have conversations with them about what are potential solutions and try to help them figure out what technical assistance we can have or opportunities that we do. I know that we've been working with the Association of Meat Processors about what type of workforce training or program, and they're launching a master butcher program, what we can do to work, and try to, put our 2 cents in and try to design those programs. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Representative King.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you so much for bringing this very informative and exciting opportunity to us. My 2 questions, if I may, are both going to show my ignorance, so thank you for your patience in advance. I absolutely love the quote, and I have it jotted down. I'm going to steal it from you or whoever you took it from. You can't manage what you don't measure. I love that, and I think that's very helpful in a lot of areas of life. My 2 questions are, so what is the correct protocol? They should go to Ag Finance and Ag Development with a proposal, and then those folks say, hey, you need some background work done, or we start with you and you may say, hey, you may qualify for a grant or a loan. What comes first?
In the ideal situation, they come to us first. Okay. And you can see on this slide that's our main email number, main phone number. Perfect. Laura Kurtz will take that. We get inquiries every day. When she gets them, she sends them to me, and then I figure out which person on staff needs to reach out and learn more with that person. But that's the best process. That way we got
start with y'all.
That way it's now. Either but again, sometimes we get lots of referrals from Bill and Brandon. Sometimes they've got an application or they've talked to Bill, and Bill's like, "Hey, you need to go to KCARD first and work through that." But ideally, they come to us first, because a lot of times there are other opportunities that we see that are best available that are better fits for them than Ag Development or Ag Finance, or it can work together with those programs. So
very good. The second question, if I may, Mr. Chair. Thank you. So I know we've talked about starting a new business venture or expanding. I'm wondering, in this tremendous age of runaway inflation, is it a good idea for our existing producers to check with y'all? You were talking about on the What We Do slide, evaluating the financials. Can you help our wonderful ag producers maybe better tackle inflation and where other ways to cut back or how to best manage that? It's a big problem.
What we can do is we can sit down and work through their financials and work through, some cases, a monthly cash flow statement, or help them break them down and see, and then potentially benchmark them with other farmers and look at them and say, hey, you're heavy in this spot, and then look and say why you're heavy, and then figure out what those opportunities are to manage that inflation. In some cases, the price is what it is. You just got to figure out, okay, with this new cost structure, what does that mean? And do I need, and what it could also mean is if you're able to set your price, then it might be, okay, with this new cost structure, I thought I might need to consider raising my prices on these things. Let's say I'm direct marketing vegetables. I might say, well, this is what I've always charged, but maybe my cost structure has now gone up. So I need to think about what are other competitors charging, and can I raise that price and still be competitive, but also increase my margin? So.
I think that'll be very important for the folks at home. And if I'm at all successful in communicating this wonderful opportunity, you'll be getting some new calls.
And like I said, we've got many people on staff, several with a financial background. We've got people, we've got a couple of people who've worked at banks before as loan officers and those working in our organization. Again, I mentioned Spencer sitting next to the left of me. He's got a set of different, I guess you would call record keeping tools or enterprise budget set up for different enterprises where he can help people go through and compare notes. So,
Representative Roarks.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to take the opportunity to brag on Brent and his work, because I think one of the folks that was listed on the examples of people and clients that you've worked with was Logan Street Market in Louisville. And their owner, Medora, she had, found a lot of engaging with government to help try to make sure that her, business plan was viable, and trying to bring resources, especially in the way of local produce and farmers, into the market there, to be, very complicated, very robust. The process was very intimidating. She had, I think, brought in a whole series of local electeds, and at the end of the day, what was lacking was that technical support and experience. So I brought in everybody from Bill to you, and Thank you to Brian Lacefield in the audience too, because he had actually recommended that I reach out to you to connect Medora with your all's services, and she was shocked that she was going to be able to speak with you for free and have a consultation, learn more about what her goals were, and and start navigating the waters of what may be a good fit, because learning about the services that our committee funds, it's all about finding what might be the best fit for someone. And in Louisville, there's limited Ag Development Fund dollars to go around, but also sometimes it's maybe not the best fit for someone to go through that process, and helping them figure out, is their business plan viable and how should you move forward was really helpful. And I wanted to share with you that they did get their small urban grocery store. It has a person that is going to take over and start running. They're working on their soft launch date soon for what they call their bodega. And then also Peach Blossom Farm, I believe is their name. They are going to be a permanent booth now at the public market. Right. So they're a local farmer that's going to be selling beef, eggs, milk, and it's going to be a really huge asset to the neighborhood that has limited options in the area. So,
and I know that initial meeting about the store led to further conversations with Pandora about them starting a farmers market. So Taryn in our office, who works with a lot of the farmers markets, has had multiple conversations with Pandora. We feel like generally speaking, once we establish that relationship, clients keep coming back because they know that we're that trusted, valuable person. And we often say that we get probably the number one inquiry we get is can I get money for a fence or something like that, and we can often say, well, the answer is sometimes no, but we can say, but if you thought about this, what are your other potential needs? Let's talk to somebody on staff about what you're trying to plan, what are your goals for your operation, and we might be able to identify something else that can prevent the opportunity that they were not aware of.
That's exactly right, and I think that trusted third party resource cannot be understated. So I just wanted to say thank you to you, and also thank you to Bill and Brandon for taking folks seriously and being that point of entry to where they can get that trust and have a third party advisor where they can start navigating those things, because that was definitely something that before joining this committee I didn't know existed, and was definitely something that is a great resource to be connecting people with.
Thank you.
Senator Boswell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lackey, do you have a teleprompter? We've had some presentations, a lot of presentations up here in Franklin. And I tell you, I can say that I don't think I've ever heard a more thorough and enjoyable presentation of what you just made. So thank you for that, and you clearly have a lot of knowledge about the subject that you're talking about. So I do have a question that's a more practical question, that just so that I would be informed about KCARD. So you mentioned earlier that you're a nonprofit. are the funds that operate KCARD, are those part of the tobacco settlement fund? And I did notice, and as part of that question, I did note that you said that you had grown from 4 to 14. So have you been able to increase, because you're a nonprofit, those funds from the tobacco settlement program, or where did that money come from?
We have received funds from the tobacco settlement or Kentucky Ag Development Fund from really since 2001. Probably in 2001, we were receiving around $200,000 a year. We're now receiving, I think, close to $450,000 a year. That has helped us grow our organization, but we've also been able to leverage those funds for other growth. You know, our percentage of our overall budget, Ag Development Board, is now around 30 to 35% this year, with what it will be compared to 50 or 60% what it was years ago. So we've been able to leverage the funds from the Ag Development Board to get 3 large USDA grants, to participate, which also has helped us develop partnerships with other organizations. We now get to be a part of what's called the Appalachian Regional Food Business Center, because we work with lots of different partners in the Central Appalachian Network over years. And when USDA put out a new program called the Regional Food Business Center, we were at a really good network with those other organizations, and we went together and formed this center, which is giving us another pool of funds to expand our services. So at our base, tobacco settlement has been very much important part of our revenue, but we've tried to diversify away from that if possible. And so,
Just one follow-up. And so what is the total operating budget of KCARD? And obviously, the tobacco is part of that. And I'm glad to hear that. You know, that has spurred that additional. What are the sources to do revenue do you have? What's your total budget?
Let's see. Last year, the total revenue in 2023 was approximately $1.25 million, and $450,000 came from the Ag Development Fund.
That's good.
This year, we're probably looking at an operating budget closer to $1.6 million, with that same $450 from the Ag Development Board. We're currently in USDA Rural Cooperative Development Grant is one of our sources. We currently have a USDA Regional Farm RFSP grant. I can never remember what the acronym stands for. And we have a USDA Farmers Market Promotion Grant that we have. And then, like I mentioned, the Regional Food Business Center. And then I can list out another 12 or 15 accounts that we charge money to. So
that's very impressive. Thank you very much.
And Senator Boswell asked for Brent's thoroughness on his presentation. That's the way we're raised where we come from. Am I not right? Senator Webb.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you. I think KCARD has exceeded the expectations and the intent of its mission back in the day. However, I do have a couple things that I'd be interested in asking. I appreciate the 2023 map. Of course, what troubles me is 2 of my 4 counties weren't helped in 2023, and that's probably not your fault, because we have a tendency not to ask for help or not know about available resources. But the ones that you have helped, I work very closely with, and we appreciate it. But I'd be interested in the historic county participation and project rate from the beginning of KCARD. I would be interested in that. And I asked this question also to the other entities because, 2 of those 4 counties were the most tobacco impacted counties per capita in the state when we did House Bill 611. So I'm sitting here as still the representative saying, where's my failure here? I want to know if it's an outreach problem, and with that budget, we should be doing more. Do we have partnerships regionally with KCTCS or Morehead State that does workforce business planning on their own and advertises that kind of thing? Or just with ad districts? And what we can do better to reach those counties. But I would like the information on the historic information.
Historically, that's I can tell you since 2021, we've been in 119 out of 120 counties, and I don't think one of your counties is one that's left out of that map, if I remember correctly. I think it's closer to one of the counties outside Louisville, if I remember correctly. We've also, from our client numbers, again from a historic number, in 2011, KCARD had helped a total of like 169 businesses that were in our database. Now that number is over 3,000. Over the years, since 2011, probably for the last 5 years, we've averaged helping anywhere from 450 to 600 clients a year with significant services, and trying to cover I feel like we cover the whole state, but there's always a couple counties that slip through. Like it would be nice to hit 120 every year. That's sometimes difficult to do.
I understand that, but what I'm saying, when we created House Bill 611, it wasn't perfect, but was to provide parity proportionately to the impact of losing tobacco.
And now one of the things that we've tried to do is we generally try to look at where we don't have as many clients, per se, and we try to make sure we do outreach in those communities. For example, last year we had not had any, I think Clay County and a couple of counties in that area had not had much assistance, so we held a workshop in that county to try to draw assistance to that. We try to make sure we're moving these different ones around. We also try to network with extension offices and others across the state and make sure that we're working with those different groups to make sure that if they're having an event, they invite us, or if we think it's an important event, we try to come. In Eastern Kentucky, we've partnered with the Community Farmer Alliance to host the Eastern Kentucky Farmer Conference for the last few years. That's a conference that I think we launched it, the first one 7 years ago. It had 100. We were happy to get 70 attendees that first year. Last year they had, I think it was pushing 300. We've outgrown the places that you can have that workshop in the past. And we've moved that around. It was in Moorhead last year. I think it'll be in London this year. We've tried to move that conference around to hit all of those areas.
Well, as Commissioner Schill moves to, with the acknowledgement that it is economic development, I think we also need to diversify our base of information to add districts to KCTCS, and in my area, Moorhead, who has a small business development center, because those folks, I will send people there. I know about you, but not everybody knows about you. So, but when you send people to one of those sites, they need to know that you're there and available. So, we just need more maybe cooperation and knowledge of the service being available.
And again, we can always do more outreach. There's no any doubt about that. Now, one thing I over the last 2 years, I have served on the advisory board for the Kentucky Small Business Development Center to help those centers, or I can know who KCARD is, so we know what their services are. So when somebody comes to us, they're a better fit than us sometimes, and we make sure that they're right. I was at the Moorhead meeting the other day. We were trying to, reach that. We've got a staff person today at a Kentucky Association of Manufacturers meeting. It's just a different group. I've recently had a call with Alex Butler, who's recently been hired by KCTS to be the adult ed coordinator, and we've been talking about how we can tap into those people and share resources, invite them to meetings, and them invite us to meetings. So we're always on the look for new things.
Rewinding the tape in my mind, and I think that after 20 some years, it kind of gets lost. Sometimes that's why I know Brian and we talk about it a lot, and Wayne Hunt and I talk about it a lot. But the districts that were the most impacted by this loss was my counties were way up there,
right?
And it's real easy to get lost in the shuffle as to larger areas or metropolitan initiatives, which are all great. But we got to still go back to the mission and original intent of your creation and this what we oversee. And I think that's to restore, even 2 decades later, that to our farm families there, because our farmland, we still have farmland there. It's not being gobbled up as much as it is everywhere else. So I think we need to just be mindful of that. And I talk about it all the time, but I'm going to keep talking about it. But secondly, if I could, Mr. Chairman, I'm the federal grants that you've received. I'm just always concerned about the federal government dictating our mission. But those 3 federal grants, were they plant-based or any animal agriculture encouragement incentives there?
The grants that we received?
The grants that you get from the USDA?
No, they're not.
What?
I mean, they're not plant-based or encourage animal.
Well, I know like the food.
The regional food partnership grant we got.
Yeah.
Is designed to try to develop partnerships around the local food system to try to get all the partners working together to promote. And we put in our grant, we've got 9 partners on that organization. We've got the Kentucky Beef Network is on that group. We've got the Kentucky Dairy Development Council. We also have the Organic Association of Kentucky. We have the Kentucky Horticultural Council, Grow Appalachia, Community Farm Alliance, University of Kentucky. So there's a lot. So we're trying to build. What we're trying to do is build an inclusive local food system that includes everybody, not just one person. Truly, I think I'm very passionate about this job, and I'm also passionate about moving moving all of Kentucky agriculture, not just certain sections of Kentucky
And I
agriculture.
know we are, but sometimes the USDA under Secretary Vilsack concerns me. But so that's comforting for me to know. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And Senator Webb, I can assure you, Brent's background in agriculture is extensive with family farm there, so he's going to be protective on things like that as well. And once again, this will not be the only time you're going to get to come in and present because, as I said, I apologize. I have not had you here before, and it's going to be very important for us to share your information with KCARD out to our public as well. You had another...
One thing to note, Representative, is that I do have an ag background. Of our 14 people, I'd say almost everybody on our staff has either an ag background or a food business background. So they're the passion for that. One of the reasons we do well as an organization is because we've always had the right culture and staff. Some of the things I brag on today that make me look good, reality are what Spencer and what other staff members are doing every day. But we also have that ag background built in us that we understand this cannot be viewed as an 8 to 5 job, that you've got to be willing to do your night. You've got to be willing to have those phone calls or meetings at night, or sometimes you've got to give up that Saturday to go to that meeting because that's when that group's going to have the meeting. And that passion for agriculture moving forward does resound throughout our whole staff. So.
And I think it's also important to remind everyone that when we speak of agriculture today, and I know you know this yourself, and we share this, it's not the agriculture of what it was 50, 60 years ago. Our farmers today are strong business people, and that's why I'm glad you're in the position where you are and with all of your staff. One thing I did want to ask you, Brent, Representative King brought this up, and I know when we're looking at agriculture, with the increase in the inputs across the board, whether it be any ag-related business, any small business that's trying to start, are we seeing a decrease in people trying to either expand or start new businesses, or what are you seeing on that level as far as opportunities coming about?
There's always cycles, Representative Dossett, in different things. When COVID first hit, meat processors were backed up. There was a plethora of people wanting to start meat processing plants that came to our office. We had over 150 inquiries of people wanting to start a new meat processing plant in between 2020 through 2022. Right now, we're working with one potentially new meat processing plant. So that demand that's been more of that cycle, not necessarily from inputs. Now, as far as demand for our services, we've gotten 37 inquiries, an average of 37 inquiries a month this year, up from 29 inquiries last year and 28 in 2022. So I don't think there's that cycle. Spencer, are you seeing anything different?
No.
Hit the button.
The only thing I would add to that is just, the influx, I think you mentioned it too, Brent, the influx of people from not only no farming backgrounds, but from other states that are coming to Kentucky. And we've seen a lot of that as well in our inquiries. I think that might attribute to some of the increase in calls that we've received from even last year. Is we've bought a piece of property, now what are we supposed to do with it? So that's another one.
Very good. And I know when we're looking at home on the agriculture end within our farms, I know it's a lot of concern right now. Price of grain, what our farmers are dealing with, and the cost of the inputs of producing that, and there's concern right now of actually being able to show a profit this year. Mm-hmm. And of course, farmers have always been taught there's good years and bad years, and you prepare for that bad year. And but once again, I promise, Brent, I'm going to make an annual visit for you to come here, and then that allows us to actually be a voice for you as well, as far as getting your information out and encouraging people to want to use KCARD.
With the tremendous support that we've received from the Ag Development Fund, when you ask us to come, we'll be here.
Thank you very much. Do we have any other questions? Thank you very much, Brent. With that right there, ladies and gentlemen, our next meeting will be scheduled for Thursday, October the 10th. You'll have a better chairperson sitting in this seat on that day. But with that, can I have a motion to adjourn, please?